Welcome to History Meets English. Today, we will discover the incredible story of William Shakespeare, the man whose words changed the world forever. This is not just a history lesson. As you enjoy the story, you will also improve your English listening naturally. So, sit back, relax, and let the story begin. Chapter 1. A boy from a small town. Imagine growing up in a small English town more than 450 years ago. There were no cars, no phones, and no electricity. The streets were made of dirt. People traveled on foot or by horse. Every day was full of hard work. In this quiet town, a boy was born who would one day change the world with nothing but words. His name was William Shakespeare. William was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, in April 1564. His father, John Shakespeare, was a glovemaker and a respected businessman. His mother, Mary Arden, came from a farming family. At first, life was comfortable. William grew up in a loving home with several brothers and sisters. As a young boy, William loved to watch people. He listened carefully to conversations in the marketplace. He watched travelers tell exciting stories. He noticed how people laughed, argued, celebrated, and cried. Without knowing it, he was collecting ideas that would later fill his famous plays. William probably attended the local grammar school. The lessons were not easy. Students spent long hours learning Latin, reading old stories, and studying history. The teachers were strict, but William enjoyed learning. Every new story opened another door in his imagination. Outside school, the town itself became his classroom. Stratford was filled with busy markets, musicians, actors, and visitors from different places. Sometimes traveling theater groups came to perform. The colorful costumes, powerful speeches, and dramatic stories amazed the young boy. Those performances planted a dream deep inside his heart. But life did not stay easy. As William grew older, his father's business began to struggle. The family faced difficult times. Money became harder to earn, and life became uncertain. Many young people would have stopped dreaming. William did not. Instead, he kept watching, listening, reading, and learning. Every person he met and every story he heard became part of his growing imagination. He did not know it yet, but the small streets of Stratford were preparing him for a much bigger stage. One day, people across the world would speak his words, perform his plays, and remember his name for centuries. The journey of the world's greatest playwright had just begun. Chapter 2. A young husband with big dreams. By the time William Shakespeare was 18 years old, his life changed in a way that surprised many people. He married Anne Hathaway, a young woman from the nearby village of Shottery. Anne was 8 years older than William, which was unusual for that time. Soon after their marriage, they welcomed their first daughter, Susanna. Later, they had twins, Hamlet and Judith. William was now a husband and a father, while still a very young man. Life should have been happy, but it was also difficult. A growing family needed food, clothes, and a safe home. William's father's business was no longer as successful as it had once been. Money was becoming a serious problem. Every day brought new responsibilities. And William knew he had to find a better future. Then, something mysterious happened. For several years, history tells us almost nothing about William Shakespeare. Historians still call this period the lost years. No one knows exactly where he went or what he did. Some believe he worked as a schoolteacher. Others think he traveled with actors or worked for wealthy families. There are many ideas, but no one knows the complete truth. One thing is certain. When William appeared again, he was no longer just a young man from a small town. He was in London, the largest and most exciting city in England. London was completely different from Stratford. The streets were crowded with merchants, sailors, musicians, writers, and actors. Ships arrived every day with people and goods from around the world. The city was noisy, busy, and full of opportunity. For a young man with big dreams, London felt like a place where anything was possible. William did not arrive as a famous writer. He arrived as an ordinary man looking for work. He had no wealth, no powerful family, and no famous name, but he carried something much more valuable: a sharp mind, endless curiosity, and a deep love for stories. He had left behind the quiet streets of Stratford and stepped into a city where dreams could either come true or disappear forever. William was ready to take that risk. He did not know how long it would take, but he believed that his future was waiting somewhere in the theaters of London. Chapter 3. The mysterious years become a new beginning. London was a city full of dreams, but it was also a city full of competition. Every day, hundreds of people came hoping for a better life. Some became successful. Many failed. William Shakespeare had no special advantage. He was not rich, and he did not have powerful friends. If he wanted to succeed, he had to earn it. No one knows exactly how William found his first job in the theater. Some old stories say he looked after the horses of wealthy visitors outside playhouses. Others believe he started by carrying equipment or helping behind the stage. Whatever the truth may be, William stayed close to the theater. He watched everything. He listened to every performance. Every day became another lesson. The theaters of London were exciting places. Rich nobles and ordinary workers could stand only a few feet away from the actors. The audience laughed loudly, cried openly, and sometimes even shouted at the performers. A play had to capture people's attention from the very first moment. William understood this better than most people. He began acting in small roles while carefully studying how great plays were written. He noticed which scenes made people laugh, which speeches made them cry, and which endings stayed in their hearts long after the performance ended. Soon, William started writing his own plays. At first, few people knew his name, but theater owners quickly noticed something different about his writing. His characters felt real. His stories were full of love, ambition, jealousy, friendship, courage, and betrayal. Instead of creating perfect heroes, he created ordinary people with real emotions and difficult choices. Audiences loved it. His plays became more popular every year. Crowds filled the theaters, eager to hear the next story written by the talented young playwright from Stratford. Before long, William was no longer just an actor or a beginner. He had become one of the most respected writers in London. The young man who had once walked into the city with nothing but hope had finally found the place where he truly belonged. But his greatest achievements were still waiting ahead. Chapter 4. The Rise of a Legend. William Shakespeare was no longer an unknown writer. By the middle of the 1590s, his name had spread across London. Every new play attracted larger crowds. People from every part of society came to watch his stories. Wealthy nobles sat in the best seats, while ordinary workers stood close to the stage. For a few hours, they all forgot their daily lives and entered the world that Shakespeare had created. His success was not an accident. William knew how people felt. He understood love, fear, hope, jealousy, and ambition. His characters made mistakes, faced impossible choices, and lived with the consequences. That is why audiences saw themselves in his stories. As his reputation grew, William became a leading member of a famous acting company known as the Lord Chamberlain's Men. It was one of the best theater companies in England. The actors trusted his writing because every new play gave them unforgettable characters to perform. Then came an even greater achievement. In 1599, the company built a beautiful new theatre on the south bank of the River Thames. It was called the Globe Theatre. The Globe quickly became the heart of London's theatre world. Thousands of people visited it every week. Here, Shakespeare's greatest plays came to life. The wooden stage echoed with powerful speeches, exciting battles, heartbreaking farewells, and unforgettable moments that left audiences speechless. William was not only the company's writer, he was also one of its owners. This meant that every successful performance helped improve his life. For the first time, the young man who had once struggled to support his family was earning respect, financial security, and lasting fame. His plays were also performed before Queen Elizabeth I and later King James I. Receiving support from the royal court was a great honor. It proved that his stories could entertain both kings and ordinary people. Yet William never stopped writing. Every new play became more powerful than the last. His imagination seemed endless. Whether he wrote about young lovers, brave soldiers, clever kings, or tragic heroes, he always found a way to touch the human heart. The boy from Stratford had become England's greatest playwright, but the masterpieces that would make him immortal were still about to appear. Chapter 5. The Stories That Changed the World. Success did not make William Shakespeare stop writing. Instead, it pushed him to dream even bigger. Year after year, he created stories that made people laugh, cry, think, and question life itself. His plays were not just entertainment. They explored love, power, ambition, friendship, revenge, forgiveness, and the choices that shape every human life. One of his most famous plays was Romeo and Juliet. It tells the story of two young people deeply in love. But their families hated each other. Their love was pure, yet the world around them was filled with anger and violence. In the end, both Romeo and Juliet lost their lives. Their tragic ending reminded people that hate can destroy even the most beautiful love. Then came Hamlet, perhaps Shakespeare's greatest masterpiece. Prince Hamlet wanted to discover the truth behind his father's mysterious death. As he searched for justice, he struggled with fear, doubt, and revenge. The play asked questions that people still ask today. What is the right thing to do? How do we face pain? How do we live with difficult choices? Another unforgettable play was Macbeth. Macbeth began as a brave and respected soldier, but his hunger for power slowly changed him. One terrible decision led to another until his life was filled with fear, guilt, and violence. Shakespeare showed that uncontrolled ambition can destroy even the strongest person. In Othello, Shakespeare explored trust and jealousy. Othello was a noble general who loved his wife deeply. But lies and manipulation poisoned his mind. He began to doubt the person he loved most. By the time he discovered the truth, it was too late. The story reminds us how dangerous jealousy and false rumors can be. Shakespeare also wrote King Lear, the heartbreaking story of an aging king who made a terrible mistake after trusting the wrong people. It became one of history's greatest lessons about pride, family, and wisdom. In Julius Caesar, he brought ancient Rome to life. The play showed friendship, betrayal, political power, and the heavy price of ambition. Even today, many of its famous lines are quoted around the world. Not all of Shakespeare's plays were tragedies. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, he filled the stage with magic, humor, and unforgettable characters. In The Merchant of Venice, he explored justice, mercy, and human dignity. Finally, in The Tempest, one of his last great plays, he wrote about forgiveness, hope, and new beginnings. People loved these stories because the characters felt real. They were not perfect heroes. They made mistakes. They loved deeply. They feared failure. They searched for happiness. They fought with their hearts as much as with their enemies. That is why Shakespeare's plays never grow old. Centuries have passed, but people in every country still recognize themselves in his words. His stories crossed languages, cultures, and generations, becoming a timeless part of human history. William Shakespeare had done something very few writers ever achieve. He had written stories that would live forever. Chapter 6. The Final Years. After years of success in London, William Shakespeare began thinking about home. He had achieved more than he had ever imagined. His plays were famous. His name was respected. He had earned enough money to live comfortably. Unlike many writers of his time, Shakespeare became financially successful while he was still alive. Around 1613, he slowly stepped away from the busy theater world and returned to Stratford-upon-Avon. There, he spent more time with his family and lived in New Place, one of the largest homes in the town. Although he had retired from the stage, he never stopped thinking about stories. His plays continued to be performed in London, and audiences still filled the theaters to hear his words. On April 23, 1616, William Shakespeare passed away at the age of 52. He was buried inside Holy Trinity Church in Stratford, the same town where his incredible journey had begun. His grave carries a famous inscription asking people not to disturb his resting place. Even today, visitors from around the world come to see it. Many people feared that Shakespeare's plays might disappear after his death. At that time, most plays were written by hand. If those handwritten copies were lost, the stories could have vanished forever. Fortunately, two of Shakespeare's close friends and fellow actors, John Heminges and Henry Condell, believed his work was too important to lose. In 1623, 7 years after Shakespeare's death, they collected many of his plays into a single book called The First Folio. This was one of the most important books in literary history. Without the First Folio, masterpieces like Macbeth, Julius Caesar, Twelfth Night, and The Tempest might have been lost forever. Thanks to their hard work, future generations could continue reading, performing, and enjoying Shakespeare's greatest works. Although William Shakespeare was gone, his voice never disappeared. His words continued to echo across theaters, classrooms, and libraries. With every new generation, his stories found new readers, new actors, and new admirers. The man had left the world, but his imagination would never die. Chapter 7. A legacy that never dies. More than 400 years have passed since William Shakespeare left this world. Empires have risen and fallen. Technology has changed everything. The world looks completely different today. But Shakespeare's words are still alive. His plays have been translated into more than 100 languages. Every year, millions of people read his books, watch his plays, and study his ideas. From small school classrooms to the world's greatest theaters, his stories continue to inspire new generations. Shakespeare gave the English language hundreds of words and expressions that people still use today. His writing shaped not only literature, but also the way people speak, think, and tell stories. His influence can be seen everywhere in books, movies, television, and even modern music. Writers across the world continue to learn from his storytelling. Actors still dream of performing Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo, Juliet, King Lear, and many of his unforgettable characters. What makes Shakespeare truly special is not just his beautiful language. He understood people. He knew that every person dreams, loves, hopes, fears, makes mistakes, and searches for meaning. That is why, even after centuries, his characters still feel real. When we read his stories, we often see ourselves. William Shakespeare began life as an ordinary boy in a quiet English town. He faced challenges, took risks, worked hard, and never stopped learning. Through determination and imagination, he became one of the greatest writers in human history. His life reminds us that powerful ideas can outlive kingdoms, wars, and even time itself. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the life of William Shakespeare. If you enjoyed this story and improved your English listening along the way, please support our channel by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to History Meets English. Every story on this channel helps you discover history while improving your English, one lesson at a time. Until our next journey, keep learning, keep listening, and never stop exploring history. See you in the next video.